Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History, that turns ordinary pocket change into extraordinary discoveries. If you've ever emptied your change jar and thought, there's nothing special in here, think again, because today, we're diving into a coin that might be sitting quietly in your drawer, but could actually be worth a small fortune. Today's spotlight is on the humble United States Lincoln 1-cent coin from the year 1967. It's a coin that millions of people have held, spent, or tossed aside without a second thought. But here's the twist, there's more to this coin than meets the eye. And by the end of this video you'll know exactly what to look for, because this little penny might just change your life. Let's travel back in time to 1967. The world was buzzing with change, cultural revolutions, space exploration, and political upheaval. In the United States, Lyndon B. Johnson was president, and the Vietnam War dominated headlines. Meanwhile, in the quieter corners of daily life, the U.S. Mint was producing coins in massive quantities to support the growing economy, but 1967 wasn't just any year in U.S. coinage history, it was a special year. In fact, during this time, the U.S. Mint made a bold decision. They suspended the use of mint marks on coins for 3 consecutive years, 1965, 1966, and 1967. Why? The government was trying to combat coin hoarding and discourage people from collecting based solely on mint location. This means if you're looking for a little D or S under the date on your 1967 penny, you won't find it. Every Lincoln cent that year was struck without a mint mark, whether it came from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. Now, that might sound like a detail only a coin nerd would care about, but it makes a huge difference. Because in the absence of mint marks, the real value lies elsewhere, and the clues are hiding in the condition, composition, and possible minting errors. Let's talk about design. The 1967 Lincoln penny features the classic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, facing right, with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," above, "Liberty," to the left, and the date, 1967, to the right. On the reverse, we see the Lincoln Memorial in stunning detail, flanked by "United States of America" above and 1 cent below. It's a familiar design, yet it's in the tiny, nearly invisible imperfections where things get really interesting. What kind of imperfections, you ask? Minting errors. These are the golden tickets in the world of coin collecting. And in the case of the 1967 penny, certain rare errors and variations have skyrocketed in value. We're talking double dies, where parts of the design appear twice due to misalignment during the strike. We're talking off-center strikes, where Lincoln might be awkwardly shifted to one side. And then there are planchet errors, where the penny was struck on the wrong type of metal or was missing part of its design due to a flaw in the blank coin. Now, not every error is created equal. Minor errors might add a few bucks to the value of your coin. But major, dramatic errors, especially when combined with a coin in mint state condition, can drive up the value astronomically. That's why coin collectors, dealers, and auction houses are constantly hunting for 1967 pennies in pristine condition with unique flaws. So how can you tell if your 1967 penny is valuable? First, check the condition. Is the detail sharp? Is the surface shiny, with little to no wear? If so, you may have what's called an MS-67 or higher grade coin, extremely rare and highly desirable. Next, examine the coin closely, ideally under magnification. Look for doubling in the letters or numbers, any shifts in the design, or irregularities in the metal. Even small flaws can mean big value, and here's where it gets exciting. While most 1967 Lincoln pennies are worth just face value, a select few, those rare examples in top condition with dramatic errors, have sold for jaw-dropping amounts at auction. We're not talking $20. We're not talking a few hundred. We're talking about a single 1-cent coin that has fetched an astonishing $66,000, yes, you heard that right. 1 penny. $66,000, imagine finding one in your coin jar right now. That's the thrill of coin collecting, hidden treasures can appear where you least expect them. So if you've got a handful of old coins lying around, it's time to take a closer look. That ordinary-looking 1967 penny could be hiding an extraordinary secret. And if you're lucky enough to spot the right one, you might just strike it rich. Today's video will make you think again, because we're about to explore a small copper coin that might be sitting unnoticed in your collection, yet it holds a secret that could make it worth more than you ever imagined. I'm talking about the United States 1-cent Lincoln penny from the year 1966. That's right, this little coin, over half a century old, has become a treasure in the eyes of serious collectors. And if you've got the right one, you could be in for a life-changing surprise. Now, let's rewind the clock to 1966. America was going through big changes. The civil rights movement was in full swing. The Vietnam War was growing more intense. And while all this was unfolding, something unusual was also happening at the U.S. Mint. In an effort to stop coin hoarding, the Mint made a historic decision: no mint marks would appear on coins struck from 1965 through 1967. That means even though coins were still being produced in Denver and San Francisco, they wouldn't show it. Every penny looked the same, no matter where it came from. This makes the 1966 penny an especially mysterious one. Without a mint mark, identifying where it was made becomes a puzzle. But that's not the only thing that makes this penny so interesting. The real magic lies in the tiny imperfections and unexpected variations that occurred during the minting process. So what should you be looking for? Let's talk design first. The obverse features the iconic bust of President Abraham Lincoln, just as it has since 1909. You've got the words, "In God We Trust," at the top, "Liberty," to the left, and the date, 1966, to the right. On the reverse is the Lincoln Memorial, strong, proud, and sharply detailed, with "United States of America" above and 1 cent below. It's a classic. But it's the hidden details that truly set certain 1966 pennies apart from the rest. You see, while millions upon millions of these pennies were minted and entered circulation, only a tiny handful were struck with rare errors or in exceptionally high quality, and those are the coins that collectors crave. We're talking about double die obverse, where Lincoln's features or the lettering appear duplicated due to misalignment during the strike. There are also off-center strikes, where the entire design is shifted off the center of the coin. Then there are clipped planchets, where part of the coin is missing due to a mistake when cutting the metal blanks. But even without errors, a 1966 penny in perfect condition, one that has never been circulated and has remained untouched for decades, can be worth serious money. These are what experts call mint state coins, and the highest grades, like MS-66, MS-67, and especially MS-68, are incredibly rare. Imagine a penny that still shines like the day it was struck, with every detail sharp and flawless. That's the kind of coin that turns heads at auction. So how can you tell if your 1966 penny is special? Start with condition. If your penny has no signs of wear, strong details, and a brilliant shine, you might be looking at a high-grade coin. Then, check for errors, doubling, off-centers, clipped edges, or unusual shapes. You might need a magnifying glass or even a microscope, but trust me, it's worth it. And here's something else to consider: coin grading. If you suspect you have a rare or high-quality coin, sending it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC can confirm its condition and significantly raise its value. A graded coin carries far more trust and prestige in the eyes of collectors. Now, I know you're wondering, just how valuable can one of these 1966 Lincoln pennies really be? Well, most are still only worth face value, maybe a few cents if they're in good shape. But the rarest of the rare, those with unusual errors or graded in top condition, have sold at auction for absolutely jaw-dropping amounts, and there's one example that stands out above the rest. A 1966 Lincoln penny, flawless in condition and remarkable in rarity, once fetched a staggering $68,000. Yes, you heard that right. $68,000. For a single penny. So before you toss those old coins into a jar or spend them on a gumball, take a closer look. You never know what treasures are hiding in plain sight. Today, we're taking a close look at a coin that millions of people pass over without a second thought, but it's one of the most mysterious, complex, and potentially valuable coins in modern American history. We're talking about the United States 1-cent Lincoln penny from the year 1982. Now, you might be thinking, what's so special about a penny from the 80s? Well, hang on, because this year was a total game changer in US coinage. And if you've got the right version of this coin, you could be holding a fortune in the palm of your hand. Let's set the scene. The year is 1982. Michael Jackson's Thriller album is climbing the charts, Edie is stealing hearts in theaters, and gas costs less than $1. But while pop culture was booming, the US Mint was facing a serious problem. The cost of producing pennies was getting out of control. Why? Because copper prices were on the rise, and every 1-cent coin, made mostly of copper, was suddenly costing more than 1 cent to make. So, the US Treasury made a bold decision. Midway through 1982, they changed the entire composition of the Lincoln penny. Instead of being 95% copper, the new pennies would be made mostly of zinc with only a thin layer of copper on the outside. Sounds simple, right? Well, not exactly. Here's where it gets exciting for collectors. During that transition, both types of pennies, the copper-based and the new copper-plated zinc versions, were being minted. That's right, two completely different metal compositions were made in the same year. And even more interesting, there were multiple design changes, size variations in the date, and coins struck at different mint locations. All of that makes 1982 one of the most complex and collectible penny years in US history. So how many versions of the 1982 penny are there? Believe it or not, 8. Yes, 8 different varieties, including both large and small date designs in both copper and zinc compositions, and coins struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. That's a whole lot of variations for a single year. And identifying which one you have can be the difference between a common coin and a rare treasure. Let's talk about how you can tell them apart. First, flip your coin and look for the date. The size of the numbers, especially the 2, will help you identify whether it's a large date or a small date. Then, if there's a little d under the date, that means it was minted in Denver. No mint mark means it came from Philadelphia, but here's the real detective work. How do you know if it's copper or zinc? An easy trick is to weigh it. A copper 1982 penny weighs about 3.11 grams, while a zinc one weighs just 2.5 grams. A small kitchen scale that measures to the hundredths place can be your best friend here. If you've got one of the rarer combinations, like a small date copper penny, it's time to get excited. Now, why does this matter so much? Because while most 1982 pennies are common and worth only face value, certain combinations are incredibly rare, especially ones that were struck using the wrong composition or have unique mint errors. For example, a 1982 D small date copper penny is not only rare, it wasn't even supposed to exist, and yet, a few made it into circulation. These ultra-rare mix-ups have become the holy grail for Lincoln cent collectors. Errors like double dies, off-center strikes, or transitional planchet mistakes where a coin was accidentally struck on the wrong metal can send the value skyrocketing. But even without errors, if your penny is in pristine, uncirculated condition, what experts call a mint state coin, and it happens to be one of those rare varieties, it could be worth an enormous amount. Now I know what you're really here for. What's the big number? How much could one of these 1982 pennies actually be worth? Most are just worth a penny. Maybe a few bucks if in great condition. But a rare 1982 penny with the perfect mix of metal, design, and condition, one that collectors dream about, has been sold at auction for an eye-popping $51,000. Yes, you heard that right. 1 cent $51,000. So the next time you find a penny in your car cup holder or lying on the sidewalk, take a second look. That small coin could hold a huge secret. All it takes is one rare version to turn pocket change into a life-changing payday. Today, we're digging deep into a classic American coin that you might just have in your collection right now. A coin that millions of people use without thinking twice, but that could be worth way more than 1 cent. Yes, we're talking about the 1971 Lincoln penny. At first glance, it looks like any other old penny. Brownish red, maybe a little worn, with that familiar image of President Abraham Lincoln on the front. But trust me, this 1-cent coin has a secret. And if you know what to look for, it could turn an ordinary pocket find into a collector's jackpot. Let's rewind the clock to 1971. The Vietnam War was still raging, Walt Disney World had just opened its gates in Florida, and the U.S. Mint was hard at work producing coins to fuel the country's growing economy. Among the coins struck that year was the Lincoln Memorial Cent, part of a long-running series that began in 1959 and remains one of the most collected coin types in the world. Now, most 1971 pennies were minted in massive numbers. We're talking billions. That means finding a 1971 penny isn't hard. You probably have one sitting in a drawer or piggy bank right now. But here's the twist: not all 1971 pennies are created equal. Some of them, thanks to minting errors, rare die varieties, or simply being preserved in incredible condition, are worth far more than their face value. And when I say more, I mean potentially life-changing. Let's break it down. The 1971 Lincoln penny came in three main versions: one with no mint mark, struck in Philadelphia, one with a D mint mark, struck in Denver, and one with an S mint mark, produced as a proof coin in San Francisco. The D and S marks are found just below the date. Now, each of these has its own little quirks, and collectors love finding the rarest and cleanest examples, but where things get really interesting is in the world of mint errors and die varieties. Imagine this: a coin struck just slightly off-center. Or one with a double die, where parts of the design appear doubled because the die used to strike the coin slipped just slightly out of place. These aren't just mistakes, they're rare collectible gems. And 1971 is a year known for some of the most sought-after double die obverse in Lincoln cent history. In fact, one of the most famous is the 1971 S double die obverse proof. It's a coin that looks like it's echoing itself, Lincoln's face, the letters in Liberty, the motto, In God We Trust, and even the date all appear to be doubled under magnification. It's subtle to the untrained eye, but to collectors, it's like spotting a diamond in the rough. Then there's the condition factor. If your 1971 penny has sharp details, no wear, full luster, and a perfect strike, it could be what collectors call a mint state coin. These are coins that look like they were just made yesterday. And if one of these also happens to have a rare error? Now we're talking serious value. So how do you know if your 1971 penny is one of the valuable ones? First, take a look at the date and mint mark. Check if it has an S for San Francisco, especially if it's a proof coin. Proofs are shinier, more mirror-like, and have extremely sharp details. Use a magnifier to check for doubling on the lettering or numbers. Even a slight doubling could indicate a rare die variety, and don't forget the weight. The standard 1971 penny is made mostly of copper and should weigh about 3.11 grams. If your penny weighs significantly more or less, you might have something really unusual. Collectors and dealers will pay good money for verified error coins, especially those that are graded and certified by top coin grading services like PCGS or NGC. A high-grade, error-free coin might be worth a few bucks, but when you add a rare error or die variety into the mix, the value can skyrocket. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. Among all the 1971 Lincoln pennies out there are a few that have stunned the coin world. Pristine condition, rare minting varieties, and exceptional collector demand have led to a jaw-dropping price tag. One verified 1971 Lincoln penny, featuring a rare double die error and preserved in mint state condition, was once sold for an incredible $58,000. That's right. 1 cent turned into $58,000. So before you drop that old penny in a vending machine or toss it into a tip jar, take a second look. The coin in your pocket might just be your ticket to an unexpected fortune. Today, we're turning the spotlight on a coin that you may have seen hundreds of times before, but this time, you'll never look at it the same way again. We're talking about the 1973 Lincoln penny. Yes, that little copper coin that's been sitting quietly in your piggy bank, on your dresser, or maybe rolling around at the bottom of your car. It may look simple, common, and forgettable, but under the right circumstances, it could be worth more than a brand new luxury car. That's right. A penny. From 1973. Let's start with a bit of backstory. The Lincoln cent has been a fixture in American coinage since 1909, when it was first introduced to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Over the decades, it became one of the most widely circulated coins in U.S. history, and in 1973, the tradition continued. That year, the U.S. Mint struck Lincoln pennies in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. You can tell where your coin was minted by looking just below the date. If there's no letter, it was made in Philadelphia. A D means it came from Denver. And an S signifies the San Francisco Mint. All 3 versions were produced in large numbers, but as any seasoned coin collector knows, rarity isn't just about how many were made. It's about what survived, and how. Now, let's talk design. On the obverse side, we've got the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, sculpted by Victor David Brenner. It's a strong, timeless image, Lincoln facing right, the word liberty to his left, the date 1973 to the right, and the motto, "In God We Trust," arching above. Flip it over and you'll see the reverse side features the Lincoln Memorial, along with United States of America and 1 cent. So far, nothing unusual, right? But here's where it gets fascinating. In the world of coin collecting, small differences can lead to big money. Errors, variations, and exceptional conditions are what make common coins incredibly valuable. And the 1973 Lincoln penny? It has a few versions that have blown collectors' minds, and their wallets. Let's start with condition. A coin that's been through decades of pockets, wallets, and coin jars will naturally show signs of wear. But a 1973 penny that has never been circulated, one that still has its original shine, crisp details, and no scratches or discoloration? That's a whole different story. Coins like that are called mint state pennies, and they're the kind collectors love to chase. Now add in another layer: mint errors. This is where things get truly exciting. Some 1973 pennies were struck with misalignments, doubling in the text or date, off-center images, or even struck on the wrong kind of metal blank, called a planchet. There have even been rumors of coins struck with leftover planchets from foreign coin production. These types of errors are rare, unpredictable, and incredibly valuable. One of the most famous varieties of valuable Lincoln pennies are double die errors, where the die used to strike the coin shifted slightly between impressions. That results in doubling on parts of the design, like the lettering or the date, and collectors absolutely love them. A 1973 penny with a clear, strong double die error, especially on the obverse side, is an incredibly rare find. Another factor? Proof coins. In 1973, the San Francisco Mint produced proof pennies, which are ultra-high quality coins made specifically for collectors. They have a mirror-like finish and are struck multiple times to bring out every detail. If you have a proof 1973 penny that has been perfectly preserved in a protective case since the day it was made, you could be holding a seriously valuable coin. But here's the real kicker: when all of these factors come together, that's when the price truly skyrockets. Imagine finding a 1973 penny in near-perfect condition. It hasn't seen the inside of a vending machine, hasn't rattled around in a glove box, and it has a mint error or rare feature that sets it apart from every other penny out there. That's the kind of discovery that gets coin collectors buzzing, and gets auction houses ready for a bidding war. So, how much could a 1973 Lincoln penny be worth if all the right stars align? Well, it happened. A 1973 penny with an incredibly rare combination of features, immaculate condition, stunning detail, and a highly sought-after error, was once sold to an eager collector for a jaw-dropping $81,000. Yes. 1 cent, $81,000. Still think pennies aren't worth your time? So before you toss that 1973 penny aside, take a moment. Grab a magnifier, check for that mint mark, look for signs of doubling or other unusual features. You never know, you could be holding onto a piece of hidden treasure that could change your life. Thanks for tuning in. If you love stories like this about rare coins and hidden value in everyday objects, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell so you never miss a discovery. Keep searching, keep dreaming, and as always, happy collecting.